Is this your first book?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. First Kickstarter. This was a pandemic child, pretty much, right? This is just something I wanted to put together during the pandemic, and it worked out. And I'm hoping to do many more.
Hey guys, welcome to Inside Comics with George Michail. Really quick, if you like this kind of content, make sure you subscribe and tell a friend about it. Today, my guest is Martin Slam Duncan. Thanks so much for being on the show, Martin.
Thanks for having me. This is awesome. Thanks, George.
So, Martin, you have a Kickstarter out right now called Dracula Visions,
Yes.
and it's an art project with 28 different artists contributing to this massive book, over 50 pages. And uh, can you tell me a little bit, and we'll get into more detail about the project
Sure.
in
Yeah.
particular. But before that, can you tell me a little bit about working with artists and some things to keep in mind for people that are reaching out to artists, wanting to collaborate with them.
Yeah.
What are some things that people should do and shouldn't do?
Yeah. So that is actually a really great question. And I wish I had would asked that question before I started this project. Um, one of the things that I did notice is within the artist community, there is a real case of one-upmanship, we'll call it. So when I started this project and started pulling a lot of the artists in, we had the art pieces starting to trickle in. And as they started trickling in, all the other artists started getting more excited about the program. So we have some absolutely stellar pieces of art that have come out, and I think that again is all a part of I saw this great piece, and you know what, I'm gonna one up this piece, and I'm gonna make it a little bit better, and then the next one comes along and says, oh yeah, well I'm gonna do this one a little bit better. So absolutely. I do suggest if you're going to do something like this, make sure that you keep the communication going. Make sure that and it's not just necessarily a rivalry, but there's also a case where they're encouraging each other as they're doing it. So that's been a lot of fun. Um, yeah, absolutely, that's been a lot of fun. Uh, and if you're looking for the other side of it, I would say that. A little maybe harder deadlines might be something you might want to go with. Now we had everybody come through, absolutely, but it did stress me out a little bit near the end. So yeah, so that's something you might want to make sure that that is all up front. But the community piece, I cannot stress that enough. Make sure they're completely engaged all the time, and make sure that again they've helped each other through this whole process, helping with composition, with ideas, all sorts of things. So absolutely.
Yeah, I find, like, for myself, I'm a comic book writer, and
Mm,
one thing that I try and keep in mind is that my idea isn't necessarily the best idea, and
yeah,
to
yeah,
really, keep an open mind to what your artist is saying, right? And really, like, try and consider them when you're writing, and then also consider their feedback and their takes on it. Um, Earlier in my writing, I used to really break down, like, every panel, like, where I want it specifically on the page,
right, right.
and I felt like I was just kind of restricting my artist's creativity. And you want it to be a fun project for them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we wanted to do with this project is to encourage that creativity. We didn't want to box these artists specifically recreating Bram Stoker's Dracula. What we wanted to do is say, you know what? You've read the novel, you have your quote. Uh, how does that inspire you? You know, do what you want. And man, we got some great pieces out of that. We had one, just call one out. Paul Lemenko, one of our artists, he specifically gravitated towards the crypt of Dracula. And did he ever run with this thing? Like it's such a beautiful piece. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Let them run with it, and honestly, the artist couldn't be happier.
So you're working with some really established artists, people who've worked with Marvel and DC and Image Comics, and
Absolutely.
I'm wondering how did you come about working with these guys?
Yeah, so I was actually shocked that you know, if you ask, sometimes they'll say yes, right? So generally, we most of the folks that I asked actually said yes. And again, I think I take it back to a couple of things. One, the project itself is what I'm asking for is a art piece, right? So I'm not asking for a whole comic book. I'm not asking for that sort of thing. It's a art piece, and I think what attracted a lot of the artists to this is the fact that they can express themselves. I'm encouraging them to sort of break out of that box and you know what, just go crazy on this piece, have a blast with it. Um, each piece will be sort of individual. It's not necessarily going to be a part of a whole story. So you don't have to have someone else's vision, right? It's your vision. And then I think what happened over time is as we started getting more and more artists on it, we had all the cool kids signing up. So we had a lot of folks that just sort of reached out and said, "Hey, I heard you're doing this Dracula project. You know, what's that all about?" And yeah, it just sort of snowballed.
Right. And you knew some of these people from your podcast that you've done and
Yeah,
your
yeah,
YouTube stuff. I find that that really helps. Like, I've been fortunate enough to work with some established artists on some of my projects, and having a personal connection, I find always goes a long way. If you've met them at a convention and you've talked with them and they kind of know you a little bit, that helps for sure, rather than just like cold calling someone you've never met before. Sometimes that
yep,
works,
yep.
sometimes it doesn't. And then also it can also affect the pricing too. If it's like, hey, I know Martin, or hey, I know George,
That's a
then
good
they're going
point.
to give
Yeah,
you like one price. Where if and also how cool your project is. I find that too. If they don't like your project and they don't know you, your price is one level. If they do know you and your
yeah.
project sounds cool, then it's another level. So
I,
these
I
are
I think I hit that rate mix. Cool project, and I guess they like me. Yeah. So, um, like I said, I think people a lot of these artists sort of had that vision in their mind. They want to put it. They want to publish it. This gave them the opportunity to do it. You know, it's almost like giving everybody their own cover in a way, right? Because they have that one beautiful piece of art that they could just put into a book and then just go crazy with it.
can you tell me a little bit more about what specifically Dracula Visions is?
Yeah, so Dracula Visions is really again an art book, which is really themed around Bram Stoker's novel. Not necessarily any of the movies, you know, the Dracula movies or anything like that. So what we did is we went through the novel and took a lot of the very key quotes from that novel. Um, some of them are very specific to the story. Some of them are not necessarily that specific to the story. And what I did is pulled these artists together and said, "Hey, here's some quotes. You know, we assigned quotes to each of the artists. Create a piece that is inspired by that quote." And then we compiled all these pieces into the book. What I'd like to mention too, though, is I also reached out to the Bram Stoker estate for this because I really wanted to pay tribute to Bram Stoker and his works. Dacre Stoker, who's Bram Stoker's great grandnephew, also got on board. So he's doing a forward for the book, and if you go on Kickstarter now, the video that we put up on Kickstarter is actually Dacre Stoker talking on the video about this project. So I couldn't be happier about who we got on this.
Yeah, that's super cool to get like
Yeah,
the Stoker family involved.
exactly.
That's awesome. And in the Kickstarter, you have different covers. Can you tell me what those covers are and who did them?
Yeah, so we have the soft cover version, right, which is the original version we're going to bring out. It is a larger size book, so it's basically magazine size because we wanted to focus on the art. So the original cover, we got Marvel's Adam Gorham to do that cover. Then we decided, hey, let's do a limited run of hardcovers as well, because you know I'm one of those guys that really likes the hardcover format. So we're doing the hardcover format, and we got Ramon Perez. to do the hardcover cover for that one. We also took, when Adam came back with his cover piece, it was originally in black and white. We did colorize it, but the black and white piece was so striking that I said I want to do a version cover of just the black and white piece. So that is also available. And I'll give you a little insight. If we hit some of those stretch goals, you also might be seeing some other covers, which may be released.
That sounds amazing. Yeah, I'm a big
Yeah.
fan of a lot of the people that you're working with on this. Ramon Perez, Andy Bellinger. Those guys just kill it all the time.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Andy Belangi is fantastic. Kalman, Ho Chi Anderson, Gerhard. So Gerhard, we have doing the Dracula Castle, which is fantastic. Jeff Ursherwood, Ron Sutton, Mike Ruth. There's so many fantastic artists on this book.
Well, Martin Slam Duncan, I want to thank you for being on Inside Comics. In the description of this video, I've included a link to your Kickstarter and to your social media. So everyone out there watching, go and click that link and go and check out this project. Watch the video by the Stoker family, and make sure you back this project because it looks super cool. And Martin, thanks again for being on the show.
Thank you so much, George. It was a pleasure.
Awesome. See you next time. Peace.
For sure.